Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome to a Valentine's 2025 special. This is Danganronpa Ship It or Rip It. So if you watch my Danganronpa S playthrough, in recent episodes you may remember I mentioned doing something about Danganronpa ships here on the channel, so maybe some kind of video ranking ones that I liked or something like that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that kind of video. I was originally intending to create sort of like an actual kind of video with several ships and just ranking them. But unfortunately, time is kind of getting ahead of me and I've not really had any time to work on it. And I'm just aware that for what I had in mind originally, that would take a lot of work, editing-wise. And unfortunately, like I say, time's getting away. I've just not had enough opportunities to work on that. But then I thought, you know what? There's an alternative option. We could go online to a site like Quotev, for example, and have a look to see if anyone's made any Danganronpa ship-based quizzes, anything like that. And sure enough, of course there are, because of course there would be. There's lots of people out there who've made them. So I picked out this one here randomly. This one's from, I think, 2019. Someone made this. So we're just going to go through a bunch of Danganronpa ships as listed in here. I don't know which ones this includes, other than obviously the one that you see on the screen right now. So this will be kind of really getting me to actually just dig into my thoughts on the fly and go along. So let's see how this is. So the first one is V3, Kokichi Oma x Kibo. Don't even need to really think too hard about this. That's a rip it from me, in all honesty. Yeah, that ship, no, I don't. I don't see it. Kibo, throughout V3, gives no indication whatsoever that he likes Kokichi. In fact, on the contrary, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities where Kibo pretty much displays that he does not really like Kokichi all that much. So, absolutely not. There's also the fact that, of course, freaking Kokichi is an absolute gremlin, and I don't think this would be a particularly good relationship between these two anyway, in all honesty. So, it's got to be a big fat rip from me, unfortunately. Oh, but speaking of good ones, Gundam Tanaka, Sonia, never mind. Also, it's not Danganronpa V2. What are you talking about? I've heard that this is something people in the fandom do. They keep referring to Trigger Happy Havoc as V1 and DR2 as V2. They're not called V1 and V2. Stop referring to them as V1 and V2. It's only V3 that is referred to as V3, and that's because of the plot and the revelation at the very end of it. But no, getting back to the ship, so Sondam, as this one I believe is called, this is an absolute frigging ship from me. This actually is probably, in all honesty, my favourite Danganronpa ship. It is the one ship above all others, and this is saying something as someone who hasn't really dabbled in shipping characters before, but if I had to pick a ship from Danganronpa that is probably my ultimate favourite, and that I'm definitely into, and I think would work, it is this one. And yes, that is partly because I'm biased, because Gundam and Sonia were two of my favourite characters from DR2. And, two of my favourite characters probably from the franchise overall. So, of course I would say that. But, I mean, the thing is, thinking about the moments they have together in DR2, there's a lot of reason to kind of put them together, given the way they interact throughout the game. So, need I really say more? I mean, for example, I remember, wasn't there a... I mean, let's go through some of the examples of their interactions. There's obviously the bit where Sonia kind of sees Gundam's hamsters for the first time and compliments him, and he blushes. You all know probably what I'm talking about there. There's the bit... I think this is one of actually Gundam's free time events, isn't there? Where he keeps referring to Sonia as the Dark Queen, because he's... Well, I think the suggestion basically there being he's kind of obsessed with her and likes her, has an interest. There's, of course, the DR3 anime, for example, where they often sort of get paired together and they finish each other's sentences, implying, oh, we're so in sync and all that. So, I mean, that's just a selection of examples, but yes, Sondam, I am all behind it. I absolutely love Sondam. It is, like I say, probably my favourite of all Danganronpa ships, so that's an absolute ship from me, ladies and gentlemen. Saimatsu, another very popular one in the fandom. Kaide Akamatsu and Shuichi Saihara. This is definitely a ship it from me. I wouldn't say I am into this one as much as Sondam. Sondam, like I say, is just my top favourite by a country mile. But yeah, I do like Saimatsu. I think it's very wholesome. It's basically the confident, cheerful, friendly girl with the guy who's got, a few insecurities and problems, and she helps him kind of start out on the path to overcoming them. And the thing is, I know there are people in the fandom, I think, who don't kind of feel this one. Sorry, I just knocked my microphone at that point. There's a lot of people, I think, who like to sort of imagine that Kaide's actually more into the girls than the boys, given how sometimes she does act quite flirtatiously around some of the girls, like Tsumugi, for example. But balanced against that, if we're also accepting stuff that's kind of additional content, stuff that's not necessarily canon, there's also the salmon mode in V3, where some of the events that Shuichi and Kaide can have together do suggest that they do like each other, and they get sort of a bit flustered sometimes when they're in close proximity, as in because they have an interest in one another. And similarly to that, the other thing I was actually reading recently was also the Love Hotel event that apparently you can have in salmon mode, I believe, between Shuichi and Kaide. That's always quite interesting, I think, because from what I've read, I can't remember if I actually got this in my V3 playthrough. I don't think I did, but then again, my memory might be being faulty. But I have read this. Basically, what happens in that particular Love Hotel event is that rather than it being any weird sort of sexual fantasy, Kaide's fantasy basically just seems to be having a really wholesome relationship with Shuichi. Intimate relationship, that is. And what's interesting apparently about that people have noted is that, because the thing about all the Love Hotel events in V3 is that Shuichi has to play the role of the ideal partner, i.e. he has to act out the other person's fantasy. But Kaide's Love Hotel event implies that he actually doesn't have to really put on an act, he can literally just be himself, and thus I guess kind of what it's implying there is that actually, Shuichi is kind of Kaide's ideal, perhaps. So yeah, for those reasons, I do ship it. Partly also just the fact that, again, they have a very great dynamic in V3 whilst Kaide's around and all that. Sorry, I should have mentioned also there probably will be some spoilers in this video. So yeah, I should have said that up front. Maybe I'll put an annotation actually somewhere early on in the video just to warn everybody about that. But yes, Saimatsu, definitely ship it. Oh god, what? Kyoko Kirigiri with Byakuya Togami? Absolutely not. No. Kirigiri deserves someone way, way better than Togami, just saying. As much as I do find Togami sometimes entertaining, he is an asshole, let's be honest. Kyoko, no. She's too clever, she's too good for him. Rip it, that's all I need to say. Hajime Hinata and Nagito, absolutely rip it. No, Nagito does not need Hajime. What Nagito needs is a freaking therapist, right? I'm just going to say it right now. Nagito X pretty much anybody is a no-go for me. Absolutely not. Get rid of it. Take it away. Rip it. Yeah, right. Kyondo, this one. Kiyotaka and Mondo. Yeah. I can see it. I could see it either as a romantic or as a platonic ship. Either or. Because obviously there's the whole thing with them being big bros in Trigger Happy Havoc. And whilst, I don't know, I don't think there's necessarily any indication that that's a romantic interest between them. You never know. I wouldn't say it's entirely out of the realms of possibility and all that. So, predominantly I would see this very much as a platonic rather than romantic ship, but I wouldn't say, that it would be impossible for it to be a romantic ship. So, yeah, go on, ship. We'll ship that. Kuzupeko, Pekka Pekayama, Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu. This is a tricky one, and I kind of wish there was a third option here for neutral. Because honestly, I don't really have any strong feelings about Kuzupeko. I know some people are really into it. I think part of the problem is that when I played Danganronpa 2, I didn't really do any of Pekko's free time events before she died. I mean, I didn't really do any of Fuyuhiko's either. And as a result, I just didn't know much about the character, and so thus wasn't very connected to her, or him, at that point, for that matter. So, yeah, I wouldn't say rip it, but I'm not sure I would say ship it either. I really would, yeah, I wish there was a third neutral option here. But, then again, yeah, I mean, yeah, the game does imply that Fuyuhiko, well, not just imply, I think it pretty much outright, shows it to you that Fuyuhiko does, care a lot for Peko. And so, yeah, I'll say ship it. I'll say ship it, even though I personally am kind of neutral about it. Because, yeah, it's okay. Maki Harukawa and Kaito, okay. So here's another one, which, kind of like Saimatsu, I do like it. I wouldn't say I like it as much as Saimatsu, though. Yeah, I can see it. So V3 did do a sort of good, steady build-up to these two, very much showing that they were into each other, and it did handle it well. Given that Kaito and Maki are... They're not characters that I dislike by any means. I do like them. They're not among my favourites, though. So, again, this is one that I'm sort of in that kind of grey space where I'd say ship it, but I personally am not massively into it, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we'll ship that. Himiko Yumeno x Kyokichi Oma absolutely ripped that apart. Much like Nagato x pretty much anybody, I also am not into Kokichi x any other character, pretty much. So, absolutely not. Rip that apart right away. Himiko, I'm pretty sure, does not display any real liking for Kokichi in V3. Kokichi just kind of, irritates her from time to time. No, I don't see that one at all. Rip it. Miuruma x Kibo. Interesting. Let me have a sip of tea whilst I think about this one. I guess a lot of people ship this one, probably on the basis of that one scene in V3 where Miu is doing quote-unquote maintenance on Kibo, and I feel like this is a bit of a one-sided ship. I feel like this is something that Miu is very into, but I'm not so sure about Kibo. Does he see it the same way? Or was he just so innocent that he didn't really understand what was going on in that scene? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, again, this is another one where I wish there was a third kind of neutral option, because this is another that I don't feel any real strong inclination around. But then again, I don't hate it. I suppose for comedic value it can be funny, so I'll say ship it, but like I say, I personally am neutral. I don't really have any strong feelings on that one. Makoto x Nagito, again, absolutely not. Rip that apart. This is basically people looking at this one going, ooh, two ultimate lucky uwu boys or something. No, I don't see it personally. I said it before with Hajime and Nagato. Nagato does not need a partner. He needs a therapist. That's what he needs. Nothing else. Rip that apart right away. Makoto x Kyoko. Okay, this is, I'm guessing, one of the OG ships. I think a lot of people are into this one. And I think canonically, is this canonically established, this one? That it is a ship? That Makoto and Kyoko do have a thing for each other? As of, the DR3 anime and all that? I'm sure I've heard or read somewhere that that is the case. I'm going to be honest, this is another one that I'm kind of neutral towards. I don't really have any strong feelings on it either way. I mean, yeah, Makoto would be a better, I say quote-unquote better fit for Kyoko than Byakuya, how we had earlier. So I wouldn't say I'd rip this one, but I'm not sure I ship it either, personally. Again, I don't know. I've never really seen Kyoko as the sort of character to, I don't know, have sort of overt romantic feelings towards anybody. I'll say ship it just because there's no neutral option, and I don't I don't dislike it by any means. But yeah, I'm kind of neutral. I don't actually really feel it. I just see them as being really good friends, Makoto and Kyoko. That's all. So I'll say ship it, but no, I'm neutral towards it. Shuichi x Kokichi, again, no, rip. Absolutely rip that apart. I think it's Sayoma, this one. That's what people call it. Again, anything with Kokichi in it, x anyone else, no. That boy's a gremlin. Do not inflict him on someone else in the form of a relationship. Absolutely not. Rip. Get rid of that. Toko and Kamaru. I can see why people would ship this one. It's sort of very wholesome, friendly dynamic between them, and Kamaru is basically the one who managed to befriend Toko and get through Toko's kind of very frosty exterior. I can see it as a platonic ship, as friends. I'm not sure there's anything really that I've seen to really hint at them being romantically interested in one another, if I'm honest with you. So I'll say ship it, but again, I wouldn't ship it as a romantic one. I'd ship it as platonic, personally. Korekio and Gonta, rip that apart. Gonta is a lovely, innocent boy. Korekio is weird. Absolutely not. Gonta can do better than that. Rip that apart immediately. Junko x Mikan, absolutely not. No. If you've seen the DR3 anime, hell no. Mikan needs a therapist. She does not need Junko. Just saying that right away. Rip that apart immediately. Kyoko and Celestia Ludenberg, or for some reason Celestial Ludenberg. Slight typo there. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. No, I don't see this one. I don't feel it. This is probably a rip, in all honesty. I don't... Do they really interact all that much prior to sort of, Case 3 in Trigger Happy Havoc, Celestia and Kyoko? Not particularly, at least not in a way that would suggest any sort of real dynamism between them. Not that I remember, at least. So, personally, I say rip it. Yeah, I can't see it. Byakuya and Makoto, absolutely not. Rip that apart immediately. Byakuya, again, asshole to Makoto throughout much of Trigger Happy Havoc. Makoto deserves way better than that guy. Rip that apart immediately. Mikan x Ibuki. Okay, here's an interesting one that I hadn't really thought of before. Ibuki, I think... Is Ibuki... I don't know. I'm trying to think of all of Ibuki's dynamics with other characters. I sometimes wonder if Ibuki is meant to be more sort of overtly bi. I mean, the thing is, there's a bit of a recurrent joke, I think, in the fandom based on something that... Was it Kazutaka Kodaka actually said this? That all characters in Danganronpa are bisexual? Something like that. But I think there are certain characters who definitely give that vibe more strongly than others, and I always thought Ibuki kind of did. Just based on two things. Some of the ways she interacts with Imposter, but also some of the ways she behaves in Mikan's quote-unquote fan service moments. So, would Mikan and Ibuki make for an interesting ship? Possibly? I don't know. I can sort of see it, but at the same time... Oh, it's weird. I'm actually really torn on this one. Because on the one hand, I feel like Ibuki is overall a friendly person. She's not mean or horrible. And so maybe, that's what Mikan needs, a proper true friend. And Ibuki possibly could provide that, and potentially more. But at the same time, it's just that the way that Ibuki acts in some of Mikan's fan service moments in DR2. The fact that she doesn't actually offer help, from what I remember. So... I'm really torn. I could go either way on it, personally. I'm going to say ship it, but very, very reluctantly, because I'm not 100% certain. Ship it. Junko and Nagito. Oh my god, right, that feels like a... That doesn't feel like a relationship. That feels more like a dynamic of two people who hate each other's guts, but can't keep their hands off each other for some reason. So, no, that just feels like it's going to be toxic as hell. Rip that apart immediately. Leon and Sayaka, I would rip this one personally. Personally, I don't. I mean, partly this is because I just don't really have any sort of particular liking for Leon. Sayaka I like a bit more as a character than Leon, because probably because obviously in Trigger Happy Havoc, even though, spoiler alert, the two of them are not around for very long, Sayaka you do get a bit more characterization out of, in all honesty. So I honestly would say Makoto and Sayaka a bit more than this one. So I would rip this one apart. Sonia and Akane. I'm actually not sure. I mean, as far as I can tell, they do have a friendly enough dynamic in DR2 when they do interact with one another, but they're not two characters I usually associate as being together, kind of. Akane and Nekomaru, I feel, is more kind of the pairing that I would go with. Sonia, again, this is another one where I feel as though I'm kind of neutral towards it. I don't really have any strong feeling either way. So, yeah, given that there's no neutral option, I'll say ship it, but not because I actually do ship it, just because I don't hate it at all. But I'm not really into it either. Mukuro and Junko, absolutely not. That is a rip right away, because that is a toxic relationship right there. In fact, there's more than a toxic relationship. That is a freaking horribly abusive relationship, if the DR3 anime is anything to go by. And of course the fact that Junko, spoiler, murders her own sister in Trigger Happy Havoc. So, no. Absolutely not. Rip that apart immediately. Rantaro and Kokichi, absolutely not. That's another rip, because Rantaro is too good, and I, would not want to inflict Kokichi on him at all. Rip that apart immediately. Kaito and Kokichi, no. Oh, flipping heck. Look at this here. This blooming Quizmaker says this is their absolute OTP, apparently, which I guess means it's their favourite. I don't see this at all. Absolutely not. I know, I don't. I don't care what you headcanon in your own head, sorry, I don't mean that offensively or anything, but the dynamic between Kaito and Kokichi throughout V3 is one of, they do not like each other, or at the very least Kaito certainly does not like Kokichi, and I think the only thing people really focus on here is the fact that they agree to work together in Case 5 of V3. But even then, I wouldn't say that's because they like each other at all. That's just because it's kind of like a marriage of convenience sort of thing. So, no, that's a massive rip from me, dog. I'm sorry, but no, I don't see that. I don't agree with your OTP, Quizmaker. Rantaro and Shuichi. You know what? Yeah, kind of. I can sort of see it. Either as a platonic or potentially even a romantic ship. Because again, I think Rantaro, a bit like Kaide, is fairly kind of confident as a character, and possibly could sort of help bring Shuichi out of his shell, maybe in the same way that Kaide did, to an extent. I say that not really based on anything in particular though, because obviously, spoiler alert, Rantaro wasn't around for very long in V3. But having said that, yeah, I feel like at the very least there could be a platonic ship there, so I will say ship that, absolutely. Ooh, Sakurawi. Now here's an interesting one. I would say ship. It's not necessarily one of my favourites, but I would potentially ship it. The only thing that kind of puts a bit of a dampener on it, sorry, I just hit my microphone again, is the fact that technically, canonically, Sakura does have a boyfriend, so that adds a bit of a complication to it. But, I mean, certainly as a, best friends, big platonic ship, absolutely, that works, because they have a great dynamic in Trigger Happy Havoc. And, if you subtracted Sakura's boyfriend from the occasion, then maybe it would go in a romantic direction, potentially, I don't know. I mean, the other complication technically is that Aoi does, in some of her free times, actually hint that she does have a crush on Makoto. But then again, you know, bisexuality is a thing. They could be bi. You never know. So, I will say ship. Like I say, it's not one of my favourites, and like I say, there are complicating factors to that do, I think, sort of act as roadblocks. But yeah, it's a good dynamic. Oh, okay. Celestia and Kokichi. Two big liars. I feel like that would be a toxic relationship, just saying. So on that basis, rip that apart immediately. Gundam x Kazuichi, no. Gundam is destined to be with Sonia. I won't hear anything else. Kazuichi, he's entertaining enough when he's not being a creeper towards Sonia, but other than that, I don't really have any strong feelings towards Kazuichi as a character, so rip that apart immediately. Oh, Munakata and Chisa. Chisa was alright. She was nice, you know, for what we saw of her in the DR3 anime. Munakata, on the other hand, I could not really care any less about. He was just a wet paper bag of a character to me. I think Chisa can do much better than Munakata, in all honesty. Rip that apart. So is it going to show me my results? Oh, wait. Oh yeah, it does show the results. So I said rip it. I was in the majority for that one, for Kibo and Kokichi. Glad to see. Though 32% of you apparently do like that. I was in the stonking majority for Gundam and Sonia. That's not surprising. Saimatsu, yeah, I was in the majority for. I remember saying yes on that one. That was a no, and yeah, that is a massive majority saying no to Byakuya and I need to say Kokichi then. Byakuya and Kirigiri even. Wow, I was in the minority though for this one. Hajime and Nagito. Y'all need to reevaluate your lives, ladies and gentlemen. I said ship it, didn't I, for Kyondo? So yeah, I'm in the majority for that one. Kusapeko, I said ship it as well, though technically I have no real inclinations on it. This one here, yeah, I did ship that one. I'm in the majority again. Himiko and Kokichi, yeah, I ripped it, and I'm in the majority. Interestingly, though, there's nearly a quarter of respondents who said yes to that. You bloody freaks. I'm only joking, of course. Please don't think I'm deliberately trying to insult. Mew and Kibo. I said ship, even though I had no real strong inclination. Yeah, it's a majority. Not as high as what we've seen, though. Nagito and Makoto, yeah, I ripped that one, and a lot of people did, too. This one, I think I put it as a ship, didn't I? But as I said, I personally don't really actually have any inclination towards it, but I don't dislike it either. Yeah, majority again. I ripped this one, but I am amazed, frankly, at how many people ship it. Absolutely not. What is wrong with you all? Tokomaru, yeah, I shipped it, but mainly as a platonic rather than a romantic thing. Yeah, I was in the majority for ripping Gonta and Korekio away. Absolutely. 23% of you are wrong. Get out of here. Yep, I was absolutely very much in the majority for ripping Junko and Mikan. Why the heck would you pair them together? That is some weird toxic nonsense. Kyoko and Celestia. Ooh, this one's very slim, actually. The difference between them. Because I said rip, didn't I? God, it's like it's like the result of the Brexit referendum right here. Oh dear, it split the country, ladies and gentlemen. Never mind whether whether the UK should or shouldn't have left the EU. What really splits people apparently is whether Kyoko and Celestia should be shipped together. I think I am just in the majority though with that one. Yeah, still don't see it personally. This is another one with a slim sort of difference between them. But again, I am in the majority with Rip It on Byakuya and Makoto. Right, Mikan and Ibuki. What's the deal with this one? So, most people ship that, and I think I did ship it, didn't I? But yeah, it's not as big of a majority as other ones we've seen. Oh, wow, that might be the biggest percentage of Rip It apart we've seen for one of these so far, Junko and Nagito. 93% people hate that one, or don't like it, or just don't like it enough to ship it. Yeah, glad to be in that majority. Leon and Sayaka, yeah, again I ripped it. Interestingly, still a fair sizable number of people who do ship it. Interesting. Sonia and Akane, yeah, I ripped, I think, or did I rip this one, or did I ship it? No, I shipped it, didn't I? Because I was sort of neutral but didn't hate it. So, yeah, that one's fine. I'm in sort of a slim minority here. Interesting, yeah. Yeah, that's another clear fucking nobody like. Well, only a tiny minority of people rate Mukuro and Junko. If you were in that tiny 9% minority there, please let me know in the comments what on earth makes you see those characters working together. I'd be curious to know. Rantaro and Kokichi, yeah, I ripped that, and most people were pretty much on the same page as me. Same really for Kaito and Kokichi, not really surprised. So I did ship Rantaro and Shuichi, mainly as a platonic one. Most people sort of ripped it. I can kind of understand why, because it feels like we didn't really see enough of the Rantaro-Shuichi dynamic in V3 for people to perhaps really make any sort of solid conclusions on it. Sakurawi, yeah, I had a feeling majority of people would ship that. Yeah, I can see it. 28. Celestia and Kokichi. Yeah, I ripped that. Majority again. Ripped Kazuichi and Gundam as well, and once again I'm in the majority. And finally, Chisa and Munakata. Just about, yeah, I was in that majority as well. Okay, so interesting. Few where I was in the minority, but mostly I think I was in the majority with a lot of these. So, good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That is your Valentine's 2025 special. I'm going to send to the screen on. Probably the two ships on this list that I do rate, most of all, out of all of those. So, obviously there's a lot of ships out there with Danganronpa. And who knows, maybe I'll do some other ships, videos. Because the thing is, that idea that I was originally working on of doing maybe a like a rankings video of ships that I personally am interested in, or have some kind of interest in at the least, I may still do that, just not as a Valentine's 2025 special. I may do it, sometime in the near future, just when I get spare time to work on it, basically, because I wouldn't want that to necessarily go to waste, because I have written bits of material for it. So, yeah, I'll definitely keep working on it, but like I say, it might not necessarily go out on Valentine's, in which case it won't be a Valentine's special and all that. This will be a Valentine's special instead. So hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on there about Danganronpa ships for, well, judging by the timer on my Bandicam recording, just over half an hour. Are there any there that you substantially disagreed with me on? Let me know in the comments. Are there any ships that you particularly like, ladies and gentlemen? That's an idea, actually. If you are interested, leave me some ships that were not listed on here, but which you think are interesting. Because I could always do a Ship It or Rip It commenter edition, where I look at ships suggested to me by commenters and give my thoughts on whether I think they work or not. That's an idea. So, maybe, if you want to engage with me on that, go right ahead. Post as many or as few as you want. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that then, ladies and gentlemen, and hope you're all having a decent Valentine's, whether that's with someone else or even on your own, who knows. Social media links, propagandist channel link, etc, all down in the video description for anyone interested. And if you enjoyed, a like is of course always appreciated. But than that, I need to drink up my tea because it's getting lukewarm, so goodbye everybody. I feel like people with a lot of these Danganronpa fangirls are always so sassy. Hey, leave them alone. I love the sprite work. Can we please get to see this sprite combination more often than doing the ads? All those wings suck. They're just mad. Whatever bullshit bond they have is nothing compared to what we have. Literally. Imagine being born with someone who's basically your double and not using it for a shit ton of money. Waste of life. You're really into the whole Beatles twins thing. Into it? Yeah.
We should have known you were perfect.
I didn't mean it like that.
Do you think that just because we're the twins to have ever existed, that we're two for the price of one?